We'll get one. So we're going to go through ads now and conversion programs. Right, David?
Yes, sir. All right.
And then we're going to be a short break, and then we're going on to content.
Yeah, we got a pretty jam-packed afternoon for you guys. I'm going to start going ahead here with the with ads. So who has put this in the chat? And back to the learning here. Put this in the chat. If you have run a paid ad or have them run on your behalf, put a one in the chat. Okay, nice. And if you saw good results from that, put a three in the chat. And the reason I ask, zero, yeah. The reason I ask, there's a lot of there's a lot to it that starts with great content. So what I'm going to show you now is my process that I use. Um, I'm the member of the team that does our paid ads. So the content that you create is the beginning of the client's journey down into your brand. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to actually just share my screen. All right. And I'm going to walk you through my process to create compelling ad content. And I'm actually going to, before I do that, I'm going to share with you or I'll share it with you after, but I have a list of prompts to use that kind of build on themselves. So we're going to talk about creating scroll stopping ads here. So just a quick, and this is going to be review for you guys, but, and I'll update that link. I just want to make sure it's got everything correct. So what does an ad look like? So when we're talking about ads in this context, we're going to talk about social media ads here. So that's going to be a sponsored post from a brand that looks like a regular post, but it conveys an offer, and there's a link for the people to go out and go participate and take advantage of the offer. So you've got at the top, you obviously have who's sponsoring it. Facebook identifies it. In this case, Facebook and Instagram, they identify it as a sponsored post. There's some body content, the body of the ad content, long copy. In this case, it's very short. Some sort of media, and then calls to action at the bottom. There'll be a headline on the left, and then on the right, there's a button to engage. So this is a simple ad, no brainer, 2 for 3 Coke. This is like, you don't even have to think about this. And their advertising is so, you know, it's so permeated into our society. It's you see it, you're like, all right, good price, go. The other kinds of ads, and I'm not going to focus as much on these, but they'd be, keyword search type ads. So anybody coming from Google or YouTube and they're searching certain keywords, you can actually bid on those keywords and get in front of the search results. So you guys see these all day. You're probably completely desensitized to them. So I'm going to show you how I create the media and the copy and kind of my strategies to get people to engage. So, and this is an example of some media that I created for a course we ran last year, the Certified AI Specialist. So I like to use an attention grabbing image, bright colors, contrasted against a plain white or black background. And I want to use the space in the ad. This was super effective, by the way, because it's kind of a cool riff on the old Uncle Sam like propaganda posters. But I want to use the space in the creative as well as the headline, as well as the body text, all of that to try and grab somebody's attention. Because when you're running a social media ad, you're interrupting something else they were doing on the platform. If you're getting in front of somebody that's doing and you're doing a search oriented ad, they're at least swimming towards you a little bit. Those conversions are much more expensive. There's a whole art and science to that. The best place to start for anybody looking to test an offer and scale, I always like, all roads lead through Meta. You start with Facebook and Instagram because it's got the biggest user base. The targeting's pretty good. Although if your offer applies to a lot of people, there's some benefit to going broad and then refining from there. But that's, if you boil it down, I would start there. So step one, I'm going to build, this is built in ChatGPT. You could use Ask Alex. I've used it very successfully. But any of those chat type AI tools, Claude, ChatGPT, Ask Alex, there's a few others, Gemini. But I'll put a post in or a prompt in, and I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but this applies to that create prompt that you'll find in the first session folder. So I'm always giving the AI context of who it is. So, if I'm looking for marketing content, I want it to know it's an expert marketer. And I want to refine that further, saying what it specializes in. So I'm asking for a product description, and you may already have this, but if for the purposes of creating something in one chat, you always want to have the information in the chat. So if you're working from a knowledge base and an AI personality and Deal or Atomic, you may already have that in there. But this is, just to have the freshest, most relevant information and kind of steer it the way you want. I want to ask for a product description. So I'm going to ask for one, and I'm going to talk about who my audience is here, and then go into as much detail about the offer. What is it? So this is called Prospect Prodigy. It's a training program for financial advisors. So it's a course, right? It helps them become more effective at prospecting and sales through a bunch of proprietary methods, one of which being making atomic offers. And I explain that a bit. I'm going to give frameworks. We're cutting down to about 50% through the message here. So I'll just give the parameters. It's a 90-day course with weekly group coaching calls, help advisors workshop problems. So I want a full product description. And the AI will give that. And this is where you refine. So like I said in my earlier session, you don't necessarily want to take the first output from the AI at face value. You can always go back and ask it to reiterate on it. You can change, if you're in ChatGPT, you can change the prompt again and have it resubmit. And I do that all the time. I'll do that 5 or 6 times till I get the output that I want. And I'm not building this because I don't know about my product, but I'm building this because I want the ads to really know about my product and convey what the values are. So if you can kind of just eyeball the product description when it comes out. If it looks good, great. If not, just continue to refine, because when you create the headlines and the content from there and the images, this is super important. It draws back on this. So step 2, we want to really identify and flesh out who our buyer is. So I'll again ask the AI, you're an expert in marketing research and you specialize in identifying buyer personas. Create a buyer persona for someone who buy this product, go into detail about their age, gender, what they do online, how we might target them. And then we're just going to use this to find the buyer. So oftentimes when you ask for a buyer persona, it's going to give you a person, fictional name. It's always Mike for some reason. We noticed this the last time we did a boot camp. I think in a later example, when Clifton's talking about emails, it'd be similar. It'd be a gentleman named Mike. So, and then it'll give you some information. So I know this field well. This is financial advising. So it is a pretty male heavy field. Age range is right on track. And, talking about income, where they are, they're typically centered in metro areas. And it's giving this guy's information, and then it gives information about the field as a whole, and then kind of what they're into, what motivates them. So professional ambition. So he wants to grow his business, obviously grow his income. And he's frustrated by what's been taught to him. A lot of sales organizations suffer from a training problem. So there's a fit for this. There's a reason for existence, as Alex likes to say, and he'll say tomorrow. Which is huge. I mean, you kind of have to set yourself apart. You have to give someone a really compelling reason that your product is important and matters to them. And it'll go through and give some more. It'll go through and give some more information about the person here, what they use online. We're getting into platforms. I'm going to ask separately for platforms, but it gets a little ahead of itself. It's talking about LinkedIn and Facebook, YouTube. LinkedIn is super. If you kind of want my cliff notes on it, LinkedIn's super effective if you are your niche does a very specific job title. You can go out and go find them there. It's an expensive place to market. It's people are typically on to do what they need to do and get off. They'll do some networking, make a post to that kind of aligns with their professional image. But it can be a good tool. There's a lot of strategies on there. Facebook, and anytime I talk about Facebook, I'm also talking about Instagram. They're largely one and the same user, and you advertise to them the same way. There's, people could be in groups, they have interest in certain tools. There's different ways to target. And then YouTube, there could be some really, really, really good ways to get in front of people depending on what kind of content they watch. So, and then also email and web searches is talking about the behavior. If you have a list, an email list, someone was talking about not having an ad budget, and it's scary if you have low or no budget because it's hard to test your offers without it. If you have a list, or you can build some sort of list, maybe by giving something away for free, which we call like a lead magnet, the email list will let you test very cheaply. It does cost a little bit of money to send bulk email, but it's not like, a couple $100 a day in ads. It's $100 a month or so. The deal actually has an email service baked into it. So, and then it'll talk about pain points. And I'm just building this. Like, you probably know what your buyers needs, pain points, and problems are. But this is just to put it in the chat so that we can always be referencing above and go from there. It'll talk a little bit about how to attract the buyer. We're gonna cover that later. I'm just including this because the AI just get a little ahead of itself, kind of sees where you're going. So step 3, we're gonna ask for some information about platforms, and this is gonna give us the usual suspects that were listed above. It's gonna also give some industry specific ones. So I'll again give the context of who the AI is and what it's good at, and then ask which platforms I should consider to market the product to the person above. So obviously the usual suspects: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, email marketing. These are all, we just covered all that. And then webinars and virtual events. So if you and you can promote those in different places. I mean, we found the webinar to be very effective at conveying a message, giving value, and then you get to make an offer on there if you're having someone on for free. There's it's a good way to do it and build a little bit of trust. And I'm gonna mostly handle questions at the end. Clifton's doing a pretty good job. But it'll go over the tools here. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to show you how to create the social media ads on Meta, though. It will, just before I move on, it does talk about some of the industry specific conferences and some other ways you can get at people. And I think those are all, I think Facebook, Instagram is like step 1, and everything else kind of builds from there. You build your web of promotion out of there. So step 4, we want to research the competitors. And I did a little bit of this earlier with the Facebook ads library. I am a big fan of using that. There's experts in this space that you can look at that do a really good job marketing to advisors. There's a company called White Glove that runs seminars. They're great at marketing. But we're going to ask the AI, though. We're going to start with the AI, and then you would go out to ads library from there. We're going to ask who the main competitors are in the product. Maybe I could draw some inspiration. So in that space, people that speak to that group and train that group, Sandler Sales Training is huge for financial advisors. The Hoopus Performance Network is very specific to financial advisors. They offer similar training. It's on the expensive side because there could be a niche to offer something a little more approachable, and then build good marketing as well. So. And there's a bunch of tools. Yeah, there's White Glove, like I mentioned, and Advisorist. So there's a lot of these like industry specific tools, and you could go, or competitors, and you could go to the ads library and just see what they're running. And my key indicator on what's successful in the ads library is if something's been running for a while. So I showed you that Sabri Subi result, the results in the ads library. He has stuff running from 2023, and it's just been on since, because he's selling a book and the front end offer works. So anytime an ad's been running for months and months, or in this case, years, coming up on 2 years, some of that was fall of or spring of 2023. That's usually an indication that they're making money. They wouldn't be spending money on it if it wasn't working. And there are other tools to gauge engagement. Ad Spy, there's some tools that you can look at kind of how a post is performing in terms of like the content, the likes and comments. But the best indicator is if someone's putting their money behind an ad, chances are it's working, and you can use that ad to kind of inspire your own content. So, and it'll go through and it'll give a brief, like it names the competitors, and now it's giving kind of a brief of what, where they fit in here and how you might use them. And it breaks down how they market. It gives some strategies to consider. This is a good one, client success stories. In any type of, if you're selling an opportunity or selling training or marketing, you want to have good testimonials that then reinforce reinforce you as an authority and a trusted provider, so that your people can engage with that. So then we're going to generate images. This is the fun part, and Clifton does a little bit more on this in his social media content section. But I'm going to ask just for the prompts, because I want to do the ads in another tool. So like if you're in, Ask Alex or ChatGPT, you might get an image and it might be close, but there's a benefit in Deal and in Atomic AI of having the scroll stopping ads. So I'll take the prompt and I'll go there, and I'll go to, I kind of like Ideogram as well as a tool. And I'll take these prompts and we'll go take it out and generate the image. So, and then once it generates a prompt, like a response, I'll ask for variations, or I'll refine it from there. I'll just chat with the thing. I'll just say, hey, this is really cool. Could you add this or remove that? So it gives the prompt, it gives the headline here. What we want is a visual prompt. So we're going to take this visual prompt out, and we're going to go put it in a tool like scroll stopping ads. So this is available in Deal AI. It's also available in our Atomic AI. And if you'll notice just some of the options here, so I don't play a lot with the advanced options. I do want to kind of want to let the tool do its thing. It changes kind of the elements of the scroll stopping ad if you go into the advanced settings. I find it makes stuff that does really well if you leave it on, and Deal recommends you leave it on. But things you could do, you can kind of isolate a color. You can choose if you want more of a photorealistic or more of like, not cartoony, but kind of cartoony images. You can bubble that in. So, and the isolation is just kind of the backdrop. So if you choose black, like it's going to be kind of it's not going to be necessarily black every time, but it will be those darker themes with the ad graphics popping against it. And then the aspect ratio, and I'll show you a couple different ones. The aspect ratio is super important because when you're placing ads on Meta and other platforms, they have different ways they serve content to people. Facebook and Instagram have stories, so that 9:16 kind of full portrait, full phone screen size image is going to show on stories, whereas the 1:1, the square, is going to show in the feeds. And the 16:9 shows less, but it'll be kind of over off to the side. If you're on the desktop browser, it'll be in the search results kind of to the side. So with that prompt, it'll make a cool scroll stopping ad like this. And then this is great, but like I said earlier, I don't want to waste any space. I have the beginning of the text body, the media, and the headline to get people's attention, or they're going to keep scrolling. So I might go into Canva and just put this over the top. I'll put a shape and some text in there. And I would, if I were to critique myself, I would make this a little bit bigger. I would make the text itself larger and maybe pop a little bit more, but this is an easy format. If you've used Canva, you can drop shapes and text over, and you can play with the color, and it does a good job, and then you're not wasting space. So I'm going to take variation 2. So in the original chat, I asked for 3 variations after it gave me the first text prompt. So we'll take the visual prompt from this one, an image of an advisor holding a tablet with clear futurist dashboard showing sales and client growth, gives a little bit of, city background, talks a little bit about text, but I'm going to add my own text. And we'll paste that right in. And then for this one, we'll do a square image. This is the one people are going to see the most. The vast majority of what you market on here will show up in the mobile feed on Instagram or the mobile feed on Facebook. So that's just when you're scrolling the app directly, not in Reels or anything. So to make kind of this dynamic image, I left the black isolation on, so you're seeing the bright image pop against a darker background. And we'll further contrast that with a really bright shape with white text. So we're just working with contrast here to try and catch somebody's eye as they're going by. So the image, if you were to focus on one, I would focus on the square and the portrait one, because you'll see, the majority of your placements are there. The wide one is important to have, so your ad doesn't look weird anywhere you see it, but the majority of the placements are going to be these first two. And then we'll go back. So variation 3 is a little bit different. It's an advisor in a sleek office looking at client files. He looks satisfied. Then we have a background featuring charts on a whiteboard, a computer screen showing growing client numbers. And the AI will kind of just figure out what it wants to do with this prompt, and we'll just paste that in scroll stopping ads as well. And I'll do this one as the more that banner 16:9. So this looks decent, and then we just go over the top. And that looks like a ton of text. It may be too much text. You kind of have to balance how much you're giving your audience to digest, as because they're on looking at pictures of their niece or cats or something. Like they're on doing something else, and you're interrupting their day. So your offer needs to be super clear and approachable for them to understand. And then let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. I will. This will all be in the drive later, by the way. So, all right, going on to ad copy here. So again, we're going to go back into whatever chat tool we're using, if that's Ask Alex or ChatGPT, Gemini, whichever you like. There's a big benefit to using the stuff in Deal because it's all pre-trained with kind of a marketing brain. But we'll give context again that it's a Madison Avenue marketing expert. It specializes in creating highly converting Facebook ads for my type of product, which is a training product, and to financial advisors and sales professionals. And I'll ask it, I want to prompt it and make sure it's referencing everything above. So taking into account the research, competitor inspiration, info about the products above, please make a long copy Facebook ad to promote this effectively to the avatar. And then we just want to make sure there's a call to action that, because if you just ask it to make an ad and you don't indicate what the next step is for them, the tool's going to guess. So in this case, I would say, we're kind of doing the VSL approach. I'll say, click to watch this free training, and we'll give some gems. You might give some gems on the VSL and then pull them in, try to pull them into the training. Or it might be a webinar and they watch for 30 minutes and then you offer the training as an upsell. So it'll give me a headline, and that's cool. It's way too long for Meta. Meta has if you want to show it everywhere, it needs to be a 40-character limit. I like that it tried, but we're actually going to do something else for headlines, but just showing you kind of what you'll get out of these tools. And then it'll give body copy to the ad here. So this is, and the important part here is this first sentence or two. You want that to be a question or something super jarring, because that's, without expanding your text, that's all they see. If they don't click on anything in your ad, they don't click on read more, they're not going to see any of this awesome stuff about your product here and kind of what it can do for you. Again, I don't think I've said this yet, but when you're marketing something, it's easy to get caught up in like, it has X, Y, and Z great features, and my product's so great, it's awesome. But people don't really care about that. They care about what it can do for them. So if you're focusing on the result, you're going to do much better than if you're just bragging, so to speak, about your product. So it will do a features and benefits thing, but it goes way down here. We're talking, we're kind of we're teasing the problem out at the beginning, and then we're, understanding their struggles, and then you kind of work towards your call to action being the solution. But it'll do features and benefits if someone's reading more. Usually people decide pretty quickly if they're going to jump off an ad. The long copy just continues to sell. Kind of like that landing page I showed you earlier. Most people take action in the very top bar, but there's a whole page of social proof and reasons why you should buy, so that you can continue to engage and If you're not sold at the top, maybe you will be at the bottom. So this is great. We may want to refine here. So this was it's kind of a Dan Kennedy style ad. Gary Halbert's another great copywriter. So I'll give kind of the same prompt again, but at the end, I'm going to change it. I'm going to say, write me a variation of the ad above that contains similar points, similar language, but it's in the style of Gary Halbert. And again, it gives me a headline, but you'll see like we're kind of doing the same. We're still hitting the same notes, talking about the same problems they have, same benefits that they could have, where they could be, and then what this all entails. We're just doing it in a different style. And you do this so that you are showing different versions of the ad. Like people will end up seeing them multiple times, or one text copy could appeal to one person but not the next. So you're just kind of, if you're running a bunch of variations of these images and copy, you're putting a lot out there and you get to see what pulls. So, for our campaigns, for instance, if I'm not ever running with less than 3 pieces of media, so that's 3 different images, and they're all different images. So I'll make the same image in different sizes and I count that as one. So really it ends up being 9 images because I have to make the 3 different placements for each one, and then I'll move on and make a whole new set of images. But I'll mix and match, image 1 with copy 1, add copy 1, add copy 2, maybe add copy 3. I don't, you want to make these different combinations to see what pulls, and then after a while you can see what's not getting results and you can turn it off so that the budget in the ad, it's a smart, it goes kind of where the fish are biting, but you can turn off the stuff that isn't working so that you're pushing all the budget to the winner. So that's the reason for the different styles. You can get really into it. You can ask for Alex Hormozy if you like, or if there's someone in your space that's kind of an expert, you can have it talk like them. So, and this does note the difference in the style. It kind of does question and answer rather than like sales letter format. So it's like, what's the result? Here's the result. Why should you trust it? It tells you why you should trust it. So it's just a different style, but it's still hitting the same notes. So the headline really moves the needle. And like I said earlier, the ones we're getting from the AI, when it's just assuming, they're just way too long. They'll just get cut off. If you place all that text in there, the ads manager will let you do it, but it'll just cut it off at 40. The 41st character will be cut off. So you can ask ChatGPT, or you can ask Alex, ask Terrence, any of these tools. You can again prompt it with context about it being an expert marketer specializing in creating headlines. I wanted to write 20 headlines to promote this. I want them to be 40 characters or less. And it'll give me those. And these prompts are going to be in a document, so don't worry so much about keeping up with this in terms of like copying everything down. I have a document for you guys. But it'll give you all these different headlines, and these are great, but it's like, how do you pick out of these? So Meta will let you test 5 different headlines at one time in one ad, like without having to create different ads. And it'll just do the one, it's going to go with the one that gets the most traction. But how do you decide, right? So there's actually there's a headline generator in Deal and in Atomic AI that you can control the length, and it actually gives you a grading system. So if you've used it, it's really, really neat. How many of you have used the headline generator in Deal? Just put a 1 in the chat. Just want to make sure you're all awake. Some of you, awesome. Yeah, there's a headline tool right in the app. I'll show you. I'll show you after I wrap up really quickly. It's really good. So what we need for that, though, we do need a description of the business here. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT or ask Alex to create a description of the business so I can use that in different apps and Deal. And like, you just kind of eyeball this. If it looks fine, that's great. And we'll go into, it's called Magic Hooks. That's the name of the headline generator. And you just put the description in there. You can also give it an image to make hooks off of, or a website. And we're using hooks and headlines interchangeably here, terminology wise. But you can use it a couple different ways. I find if I'm putting the description in, I'm really getting I'm giving the tool the most information so that it can then create the best hooks and the best headlines. So the valence is kind of the, the angle we're going from here. If you're looking at the underneath, so are we coming at it as a, from a positive perspective? Or are we coming at it from a negative? So I've sold, I used to do quite a bit of, and I still do a little, we still at Option. Have done quite a bit of estate planning marketing. So with estate planning, you kind of want to scare people because people won't take action otherwise. It's it's kind of the necessary evil in that space because people are content not to get their trust or their will in place. And then something happens and the documents aren't there and it leaves their family in a lurch. So I come at that one from negative. Even with the advisor here, I would probably come at it negative as well. You kind of want to scare them to get them, jump them off the spot. But then the tone, we can play with that. So if you were, if you're looking to really scare somebody, you can go and not in a bad way, but you want to alarm them to what's going wrong and then provide yourself as a solution because it's for this audience it's going wrong. They struggle to sell, and that's a problem for most sales fields. So I want to bump them off the spot. So you can play with the tone. You can go negative, negative valence and urgent or fear based just to get them to take action and get them to take it seriously. So the hooks you get from Magic Hooks are graded on a couple of different metrics, which I think is just super cool. This is like one of my favorite things in Deal. So clickability, and I actually explain them here. Clickability is how effective it is at getting clicks. Likability is the ability to get social media engagement, likes and comments, which Clifton will talk about after me. And then availability is the best one of all. It's like how easily can your target audience understand what you're selling from this headline? So if you go back here, the highest rated one, it says don't chase clients, attract them with Prospect Prodigy's guidance. We're going to teach these people how to attract people with these cool prospecting and offer making tools. Stop struggling to stand out. Let Prospect Prodigy lead you. Don't settle for a few clients. Master client attraction with atomic offers. These all really kind of bring home the point of what we're selling. So this gives you a little more guidance than just the list of headlines that AI generated. This is given a little bit more of an edge here, and it ranks them, in order, in ascending order. So you get kind of the best ones up top. You take the best top 5 here, put them in the ads manager, and see what happens. And that see what happens thing is that I said is really like you kind of have to put stuff out there to know if it's going to go, if it's got traction. You can test a little small, and if you get some engagement, then you scale. Or you see what's working, and then you put your dollars and you put your effort behind that, or creating similar content. So, you can go out there and make this awesome program and have these awesome ads, and they may fall flat. So like if you test a lot of different stuff and you have a wide range of ads that Meta can then test, you can see where the fish are biting, what the audience thinks. Oftentimes it's going to be different. You're in your business and your business inside out. So your opinion of what works is going to be very different than your prospect oftentimes. So I just like the guidance there on that. And then the last thing is audience targeting. So this is a bit of the magic with social media targeting. So Facebook has spent 2 decades collecting information on its users, and they, as part of the terms and conditions, they get to do that. But targeting lets us access some of that data when we're then going out to run our ads. So we'll prompt the AI, and we're going to get some ideas here. So we're going to, again, give context. You specialize in creating Facebook and Instagram targeting strategies. What targeting should I utilize? What interest, behaviors, and demographics should I target? And it reiterates a little bit of the demographic stuff from above, the avatar stuff from above. But this is, this could be guiding. Like if if you're advertising to a field that's like 90% male, and I think financial advisors are, it may make sense to save some of the impressions you're buying. An impression is at one time of the ad being on someone's screen. It may make sense to cut it down by gender. If you're selling a gender specific product, you can at least eliminate paying for impressions on, you know, someone's phone or computer that isn't going to buy from you. It'll give some information on, where you might find these people, what their education level is. I'm going to close the chat. It's distracting. And then what their job titles are. And Facebook will let you do a job title targeting. It's not going to be, it's all based on what people input. And Facebook really isn't a professional networking tool. So take these job titles with a grain of salt. There'll be some people that don't necessarily fit in there, or some people who don't list their job title at all. But you can target by these metrics, by these factors. You could do interest-based targeting, I think is what, as far as what's left of the good targeting on Facebook, I think the interest-based stuff really tells the tale, because it puts people in buckets. Facebook does. They put people in buckets of what they're interested in based on pages they interact with and content they interact with. So if someone's interested in sales training, Facebook determines that based on them engaging with people that promote sales training or push content, or they're in a book or in a group, sorry, they're in a group about it. So you could actually target based on, this goes in here on this next page here. So based on, like, if someone's interested in a tool on Facebook, if they like the page for HubSpot, you'll see most of the way down in this response here, like, you can target people that like that page or like the Salesforce page or MailChimp. Like, if you're looking for people that follow certain pages, they're likely to fit in your world in some way. That can be an effective way to go after people. And then there's some other strategies. So beyond just picking from what Meta has in their targeting, you can do what's called a lookalike audience. So if you have a list of your customers and they've signed up, they're largely personal emails, because Facebook uses the email to find the user on the platform. If they're largely personal emails, you can put the list in and Facebook will find people that act like that person on the platform. So it tries to find you a clone in how they act, basically. And then retargeting, I know I showed you those ads from Sabri Subi earlier. A lot of those were retargeting ads. So people that hit the page get, tracked in the Facebook pixel, and then you can go back and show them a different ad because they went to the page and they didn't buy. So there's some really cool stuff with that. And retargeting kind of falls, Clifton will talk about this a little bit in a minute. Retargeting kind of just reinforces the offer. That old rule of 7, it's the old marketing rules where someone had to see something 7 times to buy it. I think it's much higher now. But this kind of plays to that, where you're getting, and I'm sure you've all been chased around the internet by a marketer after you engage with something. You're getting that other chance to resell them with a different post that kind of addresses, hey, I know you were there and you didn't do it. You didn't buy, you didn't watch the webinar. Like, check this out. And you can bring them into some different offer and they might take advantage of that. And then the behavioral layering. So you can actually cross-reference like a lookalike audience with those behaviors and interests that I mentioned on the previous slide. And then as far as placement goes, I do kind of let this run on Meta. I let it place it everywhere, because their tool will figure out where it's most likely to convert. And then over time, as you get sales, conversions, leads, whatever you're looking for, it's going to just double down and commit right to that. And then you can do a little bit of device targeting. It's not as big of a thing on Meta. Meta is going to show it on mobile pretty frequently. Like 80% or more of your ads are going to show on mobile platforms, mobile versions of those apps. You can get into it a little bit more on YouTube. If someone's watching on a TV, you can eliminate them from a YouTube ad. It's pretty neat, because they may not have the option. If they're watching on a TV, they're not going to be able to fill out a form and buy something right there necessarily with their remote. So that comes in a little bit more on other platforms. I leave it open on Meta because I know it's going to push to mobile and it's going to get people where they are. So, and then just another prompt that's helpful. I don't do too much on the Google marketing. It's a totally different beast. But if you were going to go after it, you can have the AI generate keyword search terms. So I'll, give context. You're a world-renowned pay-per-click search engine marketing expert specializing in marketing professional development courses. Please give me 25 keywords and search terms I could use to target likely buyers. And it'll give me stuff to go with. There are other tools to generate these keywords, but like I said, Google's a totally different beast. So I always recommend starting with Meta and going from there. Your buyer's on Meta. You just have to find them, but you get the data and the feedback really quickly.